You're listening to Not So Live from Asteroid G. I'm Mike Finkelstein. With me, not as always, because Josh is unavailable for this week, is my good friend Luffy. Luffy, I'm calling you that because that's what I know your name as. I don't know if you want to use your real name or if you want to go for something else, but we can just go with Luffy.
I mean, Luffy's fine, but we can keep it simple. My name's Mike also, so it should be easy enough to
remember.
that's
not simple at all.
Either one's good. Maybe Luffy, so there's less confusion.
Mike, tell me about oh God, Mike and Mike.
Which one?
On Mike. Jesus.
Yeah,
that's terrible. Let's
3M at its best.
That is completely unrelated to the topic we're going to be discussing today, but because the new Mario movie is coming out this weekend, I guess at the time that we're recording this, we decided to go and discuss the previous Mario movie, because I haven't seen the new one, because no one gives me free passes to these things, but everyone of our generation has suffered through the previous one.
Indeed, yes.
So, I've read stories about the production of this movie, and the 1990s Super Mario Brothers sounds like it was an utter shit show.
It was a complete failure to keep up with like the spirit of what the game was about. They took, I'd say, creative liberty,
to say the least. Now, in fairness, if we want to be fair, there was pretty much no way, without just doing straight up animation, that they could do a live action movie in the mid 90s or the early 90s like they did and not have to take any number of creative liberties. Like CGI was not where it was. Practical effects were the way to go, and to practical effect the way they were going to do it, they either needed a much bigger budget or they just had to commit to doing some really weird shit.
I think all of their budget for CGI went into the end with King Koopa. Dennis Hopper turning into some kind of abomination, but but at the it's fine.
Everything about that movie was an abomination. It was just so bad.
It was hard. It was horrible. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, John Leguizamo. I mean, what an actor! Great as Luigi, and Mario with Bob Hoskins. I mean, the cast was there, the spirit was good, but I mean, the execution lacking.
Lacking to say the least. I mean, I think the thing I would credit them for is the fact that they managed to bring Daisy into the movie, and like that girl does not get nearly as much respect as she would in later productions.
Oh yeah, I mean, Princess Peach is like you're always your heroine in distress, and Mario's always the hero. Mm-hmm. This one, Luigi was more so the hero, and Daisy was the, air quote, damsel in distress. She was pretty capable, but I mean, it was a different take. It wasn't Mario and Peach. It was Daisy and Luigi, which I can get into.
It was. So the directors, who I had to look up their names because no one remembers these two.
Yeah, I got it pulled up as well because I was wondering myself.
Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, who did DOA before this, and then that was what their career was after this movie. They had one moderate hit, which was, as far as I know, DOA. That was about it. Oh, and they did make Max Headroom, so there was a hit under their belt.
Okay, interesting.
Max Headroom, they debuted on the screen with the 1988 neo-noir DOA, which managed to make $12 million on a $3.5 million budget, so that was a relative hit. They'd proven they could work with a small budget, and that they could crank out something that was relatively okay. And then,
not bad.
Yeah, and then for some reason, a studio gave them $50 million to make this in 1993. Guys. I feel a little bad. Now there was ego gone bad, and they wasted a lot of money on a really terrible looking movie. There's no question about any of that.
Right.
But I feel bad because there's any number of directors out there who prove themselves with small budget films, and then the studio throws a gob of money at them with expectations that you took $3 million and turned it 12. You can take $25 million and turn it to 100, and it's like, But all of their movies consistently make 12 to 20 million. On what world did you think they were going to make more than that?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes studios do things that are very just strange and bizarre. But I mean, I guess they did the best they could, I suppose. I still question this day what the heck the Koopas or Toad even was, like with the giant and then the harmonica. Like I don't understand how the Goombas were like that, but
so much. Well,
I mean,
I think the thing to bear in mind, and this is the key that I think explains so very much of the movie and why it turned out the way it did, is that also that year, Jurassic Park came out, and
yes,
dinosaurs were big.
yes, that's
So
true.
that came out in June. The Mario movie came out in May, just a little beforehand. But the advertising for it was cranking out way before that. Studios
Hmm.
knew Jurassic Park was coming. Everyone could tell it was going to be a hit because it's a Spielberg movie. Let's capitalize on dinosaur fever.
Yeah, and then it seems like they borrowed a little bit from that movie with the whatever Yoshi was supposed to be. Clearly not the Yoshi and love, or the tool that you used in a Mario game to kind of get you where you need to be.
And then threw it in a pit when you wandered off. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yoshis are tools, not friends. I approve.
Oh, but yeah, no. So to recap this horrible movie, Bob
Hmm.
Hoskins and John Leguizamo playing Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, get transported from New York into the Mushroom City. Because it's not really a kingdom; it's just a couple backlot sets that are dressed up like a dystopian city.
Yeah.
Which has been taken over by King Koopa, who is turning people into dinosaurs or something.
Yes.
And he has plans to rule the city, even though he already rules the city, and somehow merge it with the other world of New York for reasons.
Yeah. He's trying to de-evolve humans back into dinosaurs. Was kind of his MO. I
For
don't
reasons.
understand.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't understand, but I mean that's what he was going for.
No. There's very little understanding in this movie. It in fairness, it has something of a plot in that bad guy is fought by good guys, and he has a master plan. His master
Hmm.
plan is ridiculous. Everything about this movie is ridiculous, but his master plan is ridiculous and really doesn't make much of any sense.
No, and I remember I'm just looking at the cast and crew. I forgot Lance Henriksen of fame from the Aliens franchise. Bishop played King Bowser, who was a fungus the entire movie,
The entire
apparently.
time, yeah. That's the easiest
Um,
walk-on role he ever had. So you're just
oh
gonna have me
God,
be
yeah,
CGI or a CGI fungus for like
yeah,
I don't know, an hour and a half, and then I say 3 lines. Cool, I'm
yeah.
in.
I
Yeah,
mean, collect that paycheck every day for sure.
yeah. Oh, so Daisy's descended from dinosaurs, and
Hmm.
Koopa wants to get to the other dimension, and stuff happens. I don't think you could describe the plot as anything more than stuff happens.
Yeah, a lot of action sort of in the movie, a
Question
lot of back
marks.
and forth, a lot of exposition and explaining things that make no sense. But I mean, as horrible as it was, it's a fun movie, and I can look back on it fondly 30 years later. Oh my God, 30 years! Wow.
Yeah,
I just
woo! The
realized that.
anniversary of that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yay!
So I mean, as terrible as it was, I had the VHS, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. They got some more of my money, but
I think
my
I have
parents'
the
money probably at the
DVD of
time
it.
though.
I think I
Uh,
bought the DVD of it because when you own almost every movie there exists, you have to own the cinematic train wrecks,
yes, of course,
and
of
that's what
course.
this is. This is a cinematic train wreck of immense proportions.
Yeah,
Like,
it's pretty bad.
I guess the things that could be said that are in the movie's favor is that if you can't film in a proper kingdom, which that would have been expensive,
Hmm.
and you certainly can't set dress like Buckingham Palace up to look like the Mario Kingdom. Then
Right,
going
right.
in a different direction is fair. Like just going dystopian city isn't going to please any of the kids, but it's at least cheap, and they probably had a backlot they could use for that. So I get it. I get it.
Mhm.
They tried to explain fireballs by making them flamethrowers. They tried
Right.
to explain the high jumping powers of Mario by like boost boots. Uh,
Yes, yes,
they,
yes.
they took Koopas and they decided to make them dinosaurs-ish creatures instead of like turtles, which is weird,
And
but
and,
okay.
and like 9 feet tall.
Yeah,
Like I mean,
yeah.
Goombas in the video game are half the size of Mario, and now we get Mario half the size of a Goomba. Like I do not understand.
Yeah, and calling
Uh,
them Goombas is weird. I might have accepted them if they were Koopas, but calling
right.
them Goombas when the Goombas are mushrooms, so is the king a Goomba then? Because he's a fungus.
I don't know.
I don't. I don't know.
I mean, he's King. Looking at the IMDb here, his name is actually King Bowser. So, I mean, they took Bowser and Koopa and they made Bowser, who traditionally is the bad guy in video games, actually the good king in this one. And King Koopa, who I always thought was Bowser at the same time, they were synonymous, is someone completely different.
Yeah.
So interesting, I suppose.
Yes. It's actually really weird looking at like the number of characters that are named after actual Mario characters, because you said like Toad, and there's
Right.
King Koopa and Bowser, who are different characters.
Mhm.
And Iggy Koopa and Spike Koopa and
Yeah.
Big Bertha, and you're like, I know these characters, and how they look in the movie is absolutely not this way.
Yeah, no, and I mean to pull Iggy and Spike as the two Koopalings as opposed to like Ludwig or Roy or Wendy, who's
yeah, absolutely,
much more recognizable. I mean, I don't know, questions, still questions 30 years later, but like we said, it's an enjoyable movie if you look at it for what it is, which is a complete and total piece of trash that you grew up with as a kid.
It's a piece of trash. I mean, it comes from a long line of piece of trash video game adaptations. I mean, Street Fighter came out a year later. I believe Double Dragon came out the year before. Like, Hollywood saw that this was a multi-billion-dollar industry that was growing, and they wanted to get in on it. They just had no clue how to do it and actually like make it work.
That they saw video games picking up steam in the 90s, Atari in the 80s and Nintendo in the mid 80s, rolling into the Super Nintendo in the early 90s, and they're like, how do we capitalize on this and get kids to actually come watch our movies too? Oh, I know, let's just take these movies and adapt them, and horribly at that. But I mean, Street Fighter 2, not a again, terrible movie, interesting casting. I mean, you gotta love Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile. I'm sold. That works for me.
Yeah, I suffered through that last year, and that was something. I will say this for the 1994 Street Fighter movie: it's better than the Rise of Chun-Li or the Legend of Chun-Li. That was a terrible film.
Yeah, and that's a movie that was made, much more recently. That you would think they would have had some learning experience of what did not work in the first movie, and they didn't do their homework. They didn't do their homework.
No. But this is the concern that I have is like there are very few video game adaptations, like straight video game adaptations, that I would really write as like good movies. There's been good movies based on video game concept, like video game culture. You got like Scott Pilgrim, and you have Wreck-It Ralph, and those are love letters to video gaming, and those are great. But the ones that just take this material and try and actually make a movie out of them, well, one, you're missing the whole point of video games, which is to play them. Yeah. But also, like, most of the time they're given to studios that just don't understand the property that they're adapting. And you think with Mario having existed for going on 40 years now, like, wow. Donkey Kong came out in 83, guys. Actually, 81, I think. Shit. So yeah, over 40 years of Mario now. That the people would understand it, but from what I saw from the reviews, which I know you're going to go see this movie tomorrow.
Sunday we're going. Sunday.
Mario Sunday. Looks like it should be a day. But yes, it's like they got the look more or less right. It's an imagination film, so it doesn't quite look right. But they got the look kind of right. And they got, like, the Easter eggs that are in there and all the callbacks to Mario, all the dumb pop culture shit that Imagination can actually do. But the reviews that I've read have said, if you're actually hoping for a real story, this is not the movie for you.
Yes, I mean, I've tried to avoid as many spoilers as possible because I don't want to be disappointed. But what I've taken from the preview is, Luigi in distress, Mario rescue, and
that's it.
Pretty much. And Peach looks like a capable leader here, not a damsel in distress, which is interesting. And, Toad and all the mushroom, folk are in it, and they're adorable, apparently. So I have high hopes that it's going to at least be tangibly good. But we'll see.
I think you've just come up with the tagline. The Mario Brothers movie. tangibly good.
I mean, the casting is questionable as well. I mean, I think you 100% nailed it though with Jack Black as Bowser. I mean, I'll watch anything Jack Black does. He's amazing.
Well, he's good. Anya Taylor-Joy is a great actress. I think
right.
And she's not so A-list right now that I feel like they hired her just because she's a star.
Correct.
Which Imagination is known to do, is just hire people because they're stars.
Look no farther than Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt, yes. Pratt. What a Pratt. Yeah. No, he's my issue because maybe he does the Mario voice. Maybe he does anything even approximating a Mario voice. But the movie dictates, from what I've seen from the trailers and the basic reviews, it does dictate early in the film that he's an immigrant from Italy. So he's got to have at least a little accent, and the trailers aren't selling me on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty hopeful that you have to do something with Mario's voice. You can't have him be like, "Oh, it's me. Like, go say Luigi. Like, go say the Princess Peach over here." Like the entire movie for an hour and 40 minutes. That would get old after about 10. So I get his voice being a little more normal, but I just hope they do some things to make you say, "Okay, yes, this is Mario," rather than it's just Chris Pratt. Doing doing Chris Pratt things.
And that's my worry, is how committed is he to this actual performance? Because a lot of big stars, they come in, they just get a paycheck, they do some voice lines, and they move. And it's rare you get a big star who actually commits to the performance.
Yeah. Charlie Day is Luigi. Charlie Day, fantastic actor, hilarious. So I think he'll do quite well in that. Looking at the rest, you have your typical voice actor, John DiMaggio, a voice actor in pretty much everything who's in there.
He's a good one for that. If you'd put him in as Mario, he probably would have committed really hard to it.
He probably would have.
Yeah.
I could have bought that a little more than Chris Pratt. And I'm not trying to smash on Chris Pratt. He's a fine actor.
I'm fine if you want to smash on Chris Pratt.
I mean, this is not the bash Chris Pratt podcast, but at the same time, I feel like Chris Pratt as Mario is just you're banking on the name.
Yeah,
and
you are.
And I think a lot of people feel that way. So I'm reserving judgment till Sunday, and I'm hopeful that it'll be good.
I mean, in the previous Mario movie, they had Frank Welker, who is the voice actor of
everything.
Yeah, make him play
it.
Mario if you're not gonna use the original voice actor, and just be like, okay, dude, be Mario, but tone down the Mario-ness, If you're not gonna use him, Frank fucking Welker is still active. You can get him to do it. Damn.
If you don't know who Frank Welker is, I mean, look up literally anything that needs a voice actor or some kind of voice in a movie that is not a known actor, and it's probably him.
Yeah.
So, hundreds of credits.
The Gopher in Caddyshack 2, for no good reason. That was the first thing I focused on.
He was the Temple of Wonder in Aladdin.
Yeah.
He recently, pretty sure he was Olmec on Legends of the Hidden Temple. So I mean, he does a million bajillion things.
I see good things that I'm supposed to read for him, and then I also see Baby Oopsie Daisy from Dollman versus Demonic Toys. These are the things my eyes are focusing on.
Look, even accredited voice actors like Frank need to collect a paycheck every now and again, I suppose.
He is welcome to do so. You know what? Let him get the money.
Yeah. And I'm looking at his accreditation in it just says creatures.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah. All the creatures.
Yeah. I mean, look at this Shockwave and Soundwave and Transformers Dark of the Moon. I mean, 898 credits on IMDb and 2 more coming down the road. So my man is still active. He'll have 1,000 within the next couple years.
Yeah, no, he does not stop. He just voices everything.
Yeah.
If there was a cartoon from your youth you watched, he voiced in it. Probably as the lead character.
Yeah, him or D. Bradley Baker literally do everything. So look him up.
Oh wow. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm you're cautiously hopeful. I'm sitting there going, I'll rent it.
I mean, the wife and I were looking for something to do on Sunday. We don't really do the Easter thing, even though it is Easter Sunday. My family's out of state. Her family doesn't celebrate, so we're just let's go get a movie, and then we'll get some dinner at P.F. Chang's or something.
I'm telling you, the Dungeons and Dragons movie was pretty good.
I want to see that, and so does she. We're trying to hammer out some time to go, maybe next week, because that looks pretty good.
That was fun.
I'm excited for that. That looks like a fun movie.
That was fun. It was a lot of fun. So.
I believe that, 100%.
But then, of course, you can always just stay at home and watch the original Super Mario Brothers movie from the mid. No one needs to talk about it again. No, I couldn't even commit to that.
I gotta wonder, like, if it's on like Netflix or something, or if it's gonna get some kind of, watch us get like some kind of resurgence of, like, I'm sure it has some pop culture cult following. I mean, I'll watch it if it comes on TNT or something, just because I don't care. I'm anxious and interested to see if it has some kind of like resurgence of, hey, maybe this movie wasn't as bad. You know what? No, it's still really bad, but at least it's cute, I guess.
Oh, it's not available anywhere for streaming, but you can rent it on Amazon.
Oh, Amazon, which has everything.
Or
from A to Z.
Yeah, or just don't, because don't give money to Amazon. No.
It's not worth your time or your money, but if it comes on, cable TV one day at 2:00 in the morning and you're bored, go for it.
It says it's $4 on Amazon, and let me tell you, it's not worth it.
No. Still getting money to this day in that movie. That's funny.
Maybe. I'm sure they got a small chunk of people who are like, you know what? Let's see what this movie was like. Oh my god, this is the no.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised to see how many, like, if more than like 25% of the people that rented it before this one actually made it through the movie.
On IMDb, it has a score of 4.1 out of 10, so it's not everybody doesn't completely hate it, but like we said, this is not a good movie.
Okay, but 4.1 out of 10 is lower than a failing grade.
That's, true, but it's not zero. There are movies that have zero.
There are movies that have zero, but it's bad, but it's not The Room bad. Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
Hey, look, almost 4,800 people gave it 10 stars. I can't tell if they're trolling or not.
They're probably trolling. Like, maybe half of those are genuine if we're being kind.
Yeah, and then, your nostalgia playing through here, like, oh, it's Mario from my childhood. Yeah, it's still a terrible movie.
But it's not, though, because you had Mario 3 you could go play instead, and this was ass. Guys.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Mario 3, the introduction, you want to talk about a video game movie that's actually pretty good, a movie called The Wizard, if you've never seen that. I mean,
I have.
I love it. Your introduction to Mario Brothers 3 was literally in that movie. It was so good.
The 80s gets criticized for all the cartoons that were just direct advertisements for children so they could buy their toys, and then Nintendo was like, hold my beer. We can make an entire movie, get people to pay to see our commercial, and then advertise Nintendo to Nintendo fans.
And not only that, they even found a way to get their Nintendo hotline into the movie that you could call in. An 800 number that cost you money that I used as a kid as well because I was lost in video games. Literally, they had that, and it was advertising upon advertising. It was advertisingception right there.
The one cool guy in the movie that had the power glove that they clearly didn't edit
Lucas. Lucas.
He didn't really play the power glove. Like, they'd show the footage and they'd show him, but it was clearly obvious that he couldn't control shit with that thing because that was terrible.
I'm 99% certain it wasn't even plugged in.
Yeah, no. Well, he stood too far away from it. The cord wasn't that long.
Yeah, and as an owner of the Power Glove, can confirm the jankiness of that did not work at all. You were better off using the A and B button and the D-pad on the actual glove than you were using the glove to do anything.
Which was ridiculous because now you've limited yourself to one hand.
Yep. But he's right. The famous tagline, the Power Glove, it's so bad. You're right. It is so bad.
It is. The Wizard. That's a terrible movie, too. Nintendo just
horrible.
made terrible
I love
movies.
that.
Yeah. But that one was at least successful, unlike the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, I mean, it had Fred Savage and him. You were capitalizing on the Wonder Years. So, you had that. It had a young Christian Slater. And I think it had the dad from Step by Step. I think was in that as well, or the dad he looked like the dad from Step by Step, but anyway. The blast from the past, right?
Yeah, like with one of the earlier instances of a autistic child being treated like a genius for one thing.
Right.
That was 1989 with Fred Savage, and on a $6 million budget, it made $14.3 million. But even though that's just breaking even by Hollywood math, it probably sold more Mario Brothers 3 carts than anything else would ever have done.
Yep, that was the best marketing they could have done was putting him in that movie because I know I went home and wanted to buy it. You know, this 7-year-old me was like, "Mommy, can I have this?" Because I saw that movie in the theater and then I wanted it.
Yeah, no, it came out. Kids who saw it in the theater were like, "I need Mario Brothers 3." Then it came out on cable, and Nintendo got free advertising at that point because HBO would play it over and over again when the movie came out. Nintendo didn't have to pay for any of that. Kids who had access to the movie channels would see the wizard, and then they'd be like, "I want Mario Brothers 3. I want to use that secret warp that the one kid found."
Yep. Jimmy's found the secret passageway.
And somehow gets points for it, which makes absolutely no fucking sense.
No, and I mean, the kid was very smart, and like you said, autistic, and you know, showing that they're actually quite brilliant. But I mean, how he knew that was there is still
He cheated. He'd seen the strategy guide up ahead of time. Yeah.
Fair.
Totally. All right. Well, I think I've talked out on the Mario movie, which we mostly didn't talk about. You know.
That was fun. That was fun. I mean, it's a bad movie. The '90s one is horrible. The one that comes out this year, we're hopeful it'll be good, and I'll let you know on Sunday.
My only hope is that it's good enough, budget-wise, that it inspires Nintendo to finally do something with some of their other properties, and they have anyone other than Imagination Studios do like a Metroid or a Legend of Zelda.
That would be so great. You know, get some kind of like live action Zelda or live action Metroid. That would be fantastic. Oh, it'd be so fantastic.
It'd be so good. Like I don't know how you'd adapt the story of Metroid in because there's barely any story to any of those games.
Yeah.
I
mean, I guess you give the quick little, I don't know, 10-minute backstory of who Samus is, and then you just plop her on the planet and let her go to town.
I was about to say, well, you can give her some Space Marines and have her travel with them. And I'm like, wait, no, then I've just invented other M, and no one wants to watch that.
No, nobody wants any of that.
No, I'm so sorry.
we did not ask for that.
All right, this has been Not So Live from Asteroid G. I'm Mike Finkelstein. With me in the booth is Luffy Mike. It's confusing. It's just and we will see you next time.